at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they believe the Japanese were defeated pretty well single-handedly by Kim Il-sung. And as you can see here, being that Japan occupied Korea during the Second World War, as you can see here, Kim Il-sung is about to catch some Japanese. Kim Jong-il is a toddler on his mum's arm, and he's right in the battle there as well, and his mum's got a pistol firing. This is Kim Jong-il, so the one that died, the Kim that died a few years ago. Here he is as a young guy, and it's interesting, he's wearing a flower, which we're going to talk about a bit in a sec too. This place is called Paktosan, the secret camp, and most of the stories around North Korea are very similar to Bible stories. The Kim family, actually, if you go back in the Kim family, they actually were Christians, and the grandfather of Kim Il-sung was actually a Christian pastor. So a lot of the propaganda has been built around the Bible stories. They've changed the actors and the locations. So this is where Kim Jong-il was born. It's pretty well Bethlehem. Instead of a stable, there's a hut. And instead of a star above, birds were speaking Korean. There was a double rainbow, and so on. It was great to go there. Actually, in 2011, I went up there. As Kim Jong-il grew up, the two of them ruled the country. They were loved by their people, of course. Here's a North Korean monorail, and still today. Of course, on special events, people will have their photographs taken in front of images of the Kims. Kim Jong-il, so he died December 2011.
그래서 영절의 이 시간 그처럼 자유로운 노보이를 우러러 군민이 흘리는 눈물 그리도 절통하고 그 곡성 하늘에 닿는 것 아니겠습니까? 하나님, 그냥 묵고만 계시는 우리의 어버이께서는 우리 조소 우리 일터에 오셨던 그날처럼 한없이 자유로운 음성으로 당부하시는 듯합니다. 온 광장에 불타는 심장들 그 간절한 당부를 새겨듣고 있습니다. 사랑하는 나의 병사들, 떨어져 살 수 없는 나의 인민들, 눈물을 거두라. 수령님을 잃은 피눈물의 언덕에서도 우리 함께 떨쳐 일어나 고난을 헤쳐오지 않았다. 수령님 뜻 받들어 이 땅 위에 산군으로 존엄 높은 불패의 강국도 우리 함께 일떠세우지 않았더냐.
So that's the funeral of Kim Jong-il. His father, Kim Il-sung, died in 1994, but is still the president of the country. In fact, the younger Kims are kind of like channels of the originator, Kim Il-sung. Kim Jong-il, he's a bit of a ladies' man. Kim Jong-un, a bit of a ladies' man. And here's the North Korean Navy. Kim Jong-un, actually, he's only been in power a couple of years, 3 years, 2.5 years, and he's actually, at the rate he's going to be the most bloodthirsty of all of the Kims, even though he's had a Western education. In this photograph here on the horses, these were the inner circle of power when he became the ultimate leader. In fact, every single one of them has been purged in some way, including his uncle, which is the guy on the white horse on the left who was executed last year. Everywhere you go in North Korea, you'll find images of Kims on every building. They're just everywhere to be seen. Railway stations. Older buildings just have Kim Il-sung, but since the death of Kim Jong-il, you'll find his image starting to appear on buildings as well. Even in the subway, you'll find the Kims in every single subway car. And in the countryside as well, this is kind of a socialist realism type of art, which similar to what was in the Soviet Union. Here you can see a mural which is showing a wheat field, and they usually put these mosaics in places in front of fields and on farms and so on, so the workers can imagine what it would be like if they could actually grow crops like that. Bicycles are the main transport once you leave Pyongyang. And as I said, everywhere you go in North Korea, you're going to see Kims. So you'll see these images repeated time and time again, town to town. North Korea isn't a market economy. There's no advertising. There's not what you'd really call supermarket stalls or anything like that. And so because it's not a market economy, there's no advertisements of any type. But there's certainly a lot of billboards and what appears to be advertising. What it's doing is advertising the regime. Everywhere you go for a walk in the park, there's Kim Il-sung. Let's go for another walk. Oh, there he is again. And actually, this is the large monument in Pyongyang, which is the largest of the statues, and recently added Kim Jong-il there on the right. But not being content with appearing everywhere you look, in every neighbourhood, in every corner, every North Korean citizen wears images of the Kims on there above their heart. And this is a rite of passage. So when children turn around between 13 and 15, they'll be given their first pin. And then based on different stages of life and achievements, they'll receive other pins during their life. The first room you walk into inside any building is also essentially a shrine to the Kims. So any public building, and quite often kind of like commercial buildings as well, the first room will always be a shrine to the Kims. Their images appear on walls, and every room pretty well inside North Korea has these images as well. They're kind of spooky if you look carefully at the frames of the photographs. They're angled down, so the eyes follow you as you move around the room. The only rooms in North Korea that you don't see images of the Kims are bathrooms and kitchens. And so here's an example of a room that I slept in what was supposedly a typical North Korean house. Of course, it was designed for foreigners, so it was sanitized. But as you can see, I don't think you can see any Kims in that room. And when you're in towns or cities, you actually won't sleep on the floor and you'll sleep in beds, and probably most of you can't see Kims in that room either. But in fact, they are there. Every North Korean can see them, so I'll show you how this works. Just like a crucifix represents a Christian, or a Star of David for Jewish people, there's imagery like that in North Korea as well. So the purple orchid represents Kim Il-sung, and the red flower there, Kim Jong-il, represents Kim Jong-il. So if you go back into this room, you'll see that both Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il are in that room. And in fact, on my bedspread, there's Kim Jong-il. So this is kind of fascinating. A lot of people that visit North Korea on a casual basis probably don't go this deep into it, but these whole hidden messages and so on became quite fascinating to me, and so I sought them out. Okay, so travelling the country, a bit about the social engineering and so on. The country's totally closed. In fact, here's the beachside. There's electric fences. There's higher ones than this on other parts of the country. And here's the advice from my country, Australia, that says, please don't go there. And early last year, around April last year, you might remember things were quite hot and people were even predicting a nuclear war to break out. So, of course, that for me was a perfect time to go into North Korea. Unfortunately, I got, because everyone was coming out and I was going in, I received some media attention. And it was, at that time, planned to be my last trip, so it didn't really matter that much. But as it was, I went back one other time. But what's circled in there in red is saying that I'm not worried, my dad isn't worried, my son who's in the room here, I don't think he was particularly worried, but the people at work think I'm nuts. The way to conduct yourself and to collect information and to not be to be found with the information you're smuggling out and the equipment you're smuggling in is to be useful idiot. So this is a term that was coined by the Soviets to describe people in the West that actually subscribe to their way of life and their systems and believed the propaganda and then became vehicles for the propaganda to spread outside of the country. So as I said, the South Korea and North Korea, of course there's a land border of 1,000 kilometres or so, and as I said, North Korea is only 36 kilometres north of Seoul, but you can't actually travel between the two Koreas from south to north. And the easiest way, in fact the only way for Westerners really, is to come in through China. So there's three different ways you can get in. You can travel by train from Beijing. It's about a 24-hour train ride to Pyongyang from Beijing. Or you can travel in by plane, Air Koryo, which is North Korea's airline. These are great old Soviet planes. This is Pyongyang International Airport. It's really the only international airport in the whole country, or not really, it is the only international airport in the whole country for foreigners to enter by. As you can see, it's a really busy place. And you can walk into North Korea, which is what I did last time. So way up near the Russian border, you leave a city called Jiangji and head out, and you can walk into North Korea. And to do that, you cross the Tumen River on this bridge. And that's actually quite surreal, to walk into the country. On arriving into the country, you're met with your minders. They're called your guides, but it works on a system of good cop, bad cop. Usually there's three minders assigned to a group of people. If there's an American in the group, occasionally you find Americans in North Korea, there'll potentially be an extra minder added. So here's an example of the sweet, late 20s, maybe early 30-year-old female guide who's the good cop, even though she looks a tiny bit sour there. And the bad cop is standing there. As you can see, every single photograph I've got of the bad cop, he's got his fist clenched as if he's about to smash you. So he's ready for action. And then the other person is usually an elderly gentleman, my age or a tiny bit older, and he usually pretends not to speak much English, just smiles a lot, but he's actually the leader of the group. He's got an important job, and you're going to see what that is in a sec. If you come in through Pyongyang, the first place, usually you arrive late in the day and you're put on an island like Alcatraz, which is the Yangato Hotel, which is that high-rise there. It's the second largest building in North Korea. And it's separated from the city of Pyongyang by this bridge, and you're told never cross this bridge. And so Mr. Kim here, Elder Mr. Kim, one of his important jobs is to fill you with alcohol. They don't leave your side. They actually sleep on the same floor. If you're in a hotel, they sleep on the same floor. If you're sleeping somewhere else, they'll sleep in the next room. They never leave your side. They're minders. So if they fill you with alcohol and they encourage drinking, then actually you'll probably get sleepy and go to sleep. So for anyone that decides I'd like to go to North Korea, one social engineering trip is you've got to be able to give the impression that you're drinking a lot of alcohol, but don't get drunk, because all of your fun will happen at night. So we saw elevator hacking a bit earlier. Well, here's an elevator for you, but if you look carefully, there's no fifth floor. So one of the challenges in the Yangato Hotel is to get onto the fifth floor. So if you go to the staff elevators, you'll find there is a button, fifth floor. And in fact, in the stairwell, which is the way that I've always got to the fifth floor, it's accessible as well. It's not accessible any longer, but I've been there 3 times. When I tried late last year, I found that the doors were well and truly sealed. The fifth floor, there's a whole lot of legend built around it, that it's